You may be forgiven for thinking Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is the only person doing any work in the government at the moment, for she has been on the news every single day about something. Today, I've got a trio of articles for you regarding Shabana Mahmood. First one, that she's breached Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, apparently. I'll come to the details on that one in a moment. The second one is that she's being hauled over the coals by the renaming of prostitutes to sex workers or sexual entrepreneurs. Now, bizarre story of the day, that one, eh? And the third one, obviously, we're going to have to just talk about the new immigration measures that she was talking about bringing in a couple of days ago. So, before we get into all of that, I do appreciate you following me here on this channel. We are a new channel. Please just to take a moment to like and subscribe down below. It'll only take you a moment, and please do leave some comments and let me know what you think of these articles, and do engage. No, so without further ado, let's get back into it. So the first off today, Shabana Mahmood. So Mahmood and Lamy breached human rights law over segregation of prisoner, judge found. Okay, so we're buried down into this one a little bit more, and it turns out that the prisoner they're talking about here is this guy Sahab Abu. If you remember him, he was convicted of killing 22 people in the Manchester arena bombings in 2020. So he's been placed in a high security prison for the last 5 years, and his brother, who is also, this article also refers to, his brother has also been convicted and serving a life sentence, and that's this man here, Hashim Abidi. Now his brother had attacked a series of prison officers, and shouting Allahu Akbar afterwards, and all the usual things, and what they're calling a terrorist attack in the prison. He's being charged on that. But that Abu himself, the original one, the Manchester arena bomber, he was put on segregation from other prisoners because he had been found to be trying to radicalise other prisoners, and he had been kept away from everybody else to stop them being radicalised by him. However, in a stunning move, that this has been brought to court, that this Abu guy brought to court earlier in the year, saying he's spending 22 hours a day in segregation and not allowed to have any connection with other people in those 22 hours. So it says here that it's believed to be the first instance of ministers being found to be in breach of Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. Mr. Justice Sheldon found that Lamy, the Justice Secretary, and Mahmood, his predecessor, should have considered Abu's existing mental health issues before he was moved. Now, forgive me here, guys, ladies and gents, but a terrorist convicted of killing 22 people and injuring countless others, and it's still while in prison radicalising anybody he can get his hands on, and his brother also part of this bombing on at Manchester Arena, also carrying out radicalised attacks on the prison guards. Now, it's no wonder this guy was separated and on his own. But for the love of God, do we really give a flying fuck about his well-being and his mental health? Do we really? I think that the days of bringing back the gallows, we ought to be bringing them back. We ought to be thinking about a death sentence again, because this is just a preposterous waste of public money, keeping people like this in prison and at our expense, causing further trouble, bringing up further cases, and bringing to the government of the United Kingdom into disrepute in the process. It's outrageous this has been allowed to get to court in the first place, in my opinion. This guy's killed 22 people. Men, women and children had their lives snuffed out and taken away on that day in Manchester Arena. You know, it's a horrendous, horrendous thing for anyone to have to go through. But for this guy carrying on his business as usual from inside prison by the look of it. You know, so he is then... So this is what the judge has said. So in his written judgment, the judge said, in the context of a prisoner who has a history of trauma and where there was a failure to obtain the assessment of his needs, even though he was known to have mental health issues and a failure to provide him with any therapeutic treatment to address his trauma, a contravention of Article 3 is made out, notwithstanding the importance of the aim behind the segregation regime. So, what the judge is saying there is that the mental health needs of the prisoner, in this case the guy who killed 22 people at Manchester Arena, was more important than keeping him separated and away from other people. The judge goes on to say the suffering that the claimant has experienced goes way beyond the inevitable element of suffering that is connected with any segregation. An otherwise legitimate form of treatment. An individual who is segregated from others and deprived of the usual activities available to prisoners, i.e. education, work and communal prayer, will inevitably suffer isolation and an element of distress and anxiety. What the claimant experienced was much more severe than just that. He is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, brought on, at least in part, by the segregation. I'm speechless at this. I'm absolutely speechless. This, what appears to be some kind of activist judge here. No, I don't want to judge the judiciary without really knowing who these people are and what this judge is. And I've not looked into who this judge is. But this is yet another reason, and maybe this is another thing for leaving the ECHR. I know that we cannot keep having our laws, our citizens and our services abused by people and lawyers coming in and cherry-picking bits of ECHR to suit terrorists, convicted criminals and illegal immigrants. It's such a thing. So it goes on to say that he said that the judgment did not mean that the same segregation regime would contravene Article 3 in the case of a prisoner with an ordinary level of resilience. But the claimant was not such a prisoner, given his history of trauma and associated mental health needs. Again, do we really give a flying fuck about what his mental health needs are? Now, yes, we have an obligation, unfortunately, to keep him alive. And that is the law of the land at the moment. And we have an obligation to treat him reasonably well and to not manhandle him and to make sure he stays alive, more or less. Although many prisoners do mysteriously die in prison, In a witness statement, Abu himself, the guy that killed 22 people, said he'd suffered paranoia and flashbacks in the separation system and in segregation. Abu's mental health has deteriorated to the point where I'm experiencing constant thoughts of suicide and self-harm. Oh, you poor little terrorist. My heart bleeds for you. What about the families of the 22 people you fucking murdered? Oh, this is making me so cross. This makes me absolutely furious that this has even come to court in the first place. That his well-being is being put above those that were murdered and those that have survived those horrendous attack at Manchester Arena. And it goes on to say, separation centres, which have currently housed 12 prisoners, according to the judgment, have come under increased pressure this year. And then I'm not going to bother with the last one, but that is the first part of the article. Well, just to remind you, this is what this... No, not that one. This one is another article about the same thing. This is what Abu looks like. The terrorist in prison for murdering 22 people while they're out enjoying an Ariana Grande concert. Okay. He taken our government to court and found that 2 of our ministers had breached the European Convention on Human Rights on how he has been treated. And yet him is in prison, still causing other prisoners to become radicalised. And his brother, this guy, also attacking prison officers and shouting Allahu Akbar and carrying out further terrorist attacks while they're in prison. Both of them, as far as I'm concerned, need to be put to death. We don't deserve spending our tax money on these people. We shouldn't be wasting our time with them. This is not okay. But more to the point, we need to change our laws so the judiciary, the justice system, isn't clogged up with this total farce and bullshit that's going on, where we're having to defend these people in a court of law. Absolutely horrendous. Absolutely, completely utter shambolic mess. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. Do like and subscribe again if you're still here. I'm going to move on. Okay, something a little bit lighter. This one kind of tickled me a little bit. So this is the one about calling prostitutes sexual entrepreneurs, said the police. Okay, so this is about the police chiefs are being accused of treating prostitution as a normal job by telling officers they should call them sex workers or sexual entrepreneurs. Commercial sexual exploitation of women is a risk of becoming normalised and decriminalised by the approach, according to an all-party parliamentary group, the APPG. Okay, and again, this is where they wrote to Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary, said there's been a slump in convictions for prostitution, for trafficking, and talks about these pimping websites. But I think that calling calling prostitutes sexual entrepreneurs, I quite like that one, to be honest. I think that's quite inventive. It's quite creative. And I think that the very fact that prostitution itself is illegal in this country is ridiculous. It is a system that is as old as people are. That we've always had prostitutes. Women will always sell their bodies, and men for that matter as well. But talking about women in this case, and prostitution should not be illegal. Yes, it should be regulated, it should be monitored, and it should be licensed. And brothel owners should be held to high account. And no, people should not be sold into the sex trade. And there should not be underground gangs bringing women here for sex. But let's get real here, guys. That if I want to sell my body, I'll have to pay someone for my body, but I could do. It's my choice as an adult human being. Now same goes for women out there as well. It's their choice if they want to sell their body or not. And for some reason, there's no problem with this if it's on OnlyFans or Pornhub or something like that. That people are allowed to be naked and do whatever on camera in front of other people on websites. But when it comes to real life, where you're actually having human interaction with another human being, for some reason we've got this whole thing, I think, back to front and upside down. But I don't want to have it in perspective. No, I do think that we should legalise prostitution, have it licensed, have it regulated, and then work about making sure that these underground gangs and stuff are not running amok in the system. So this article goes on to say that sex trafficking was being conducted on an industrial scale through pimping websites, with one alone promoting 15,800 adverts for prostitution. Now, I've not looked into these. I don't know the details on this, and maybe, this is like a taxi company or something, and you ring up, fast drive taxis, whatever they're called, and they send out one of their drivers to you. It could be like that for women. That's what it could be like. I don't know. But convictions for paying for sexual services of a prostitute are subjected to force. Sorry, start again. Convictions for paying for sexual services of a prostitute subjected to force, i.e. rape, in other words, are down from 43 in 2010 to 0 in 2023, which I think is very low in the first place. It's a very, very, very low number of people in the first place, down to 0. And then it says soliciting has fallen from 208 to 25 in the same time period, and keeping a brothel has dropped from 32 to 8, and pimping has decreased from 32 to 8 as well. Now, funnily enough, it's the same time period where it used to be illegal to shoplift, and now you can shoplift as long as it's not more than £250, and no one bats an eyelid about it. that's all about law enforcement, I think, isn't it? And how we're choosing to prosecute, and exercise the law as it is. Um, but I think that we need to look at this as a separate thing. But it just made me smile a bit, this one, because calling them sexual entrepreneurs. I do like that. I do think it's a good title, and I think it's probably fitting for some people. For others, probably less so. But yeah, I do like that one. Okay, and if you're still here, then we're going to move finally on to Shabana Mahmood and her changes to the asylum system this week. Again, so this is probably the biggest story of the week so far. Came out on Monday, obviously leaked over the weekend, as these things do, or drip fed over the weekend, making sweeping changes to the asylum system. And this is including limiting quadrupling the time it takes for people to become settled status in the UK, up to 20 years, from the current 5 years. It's going to end automatic right to accommodation and financial support in the government's latest attempt to curtail clandestine migration. And a whole load of other measures that are designed to reduce the number of people coming into the country. Now, some of these things I actually are quite good. That there were a lot of rhetoric in what she was saying. There was a lot of things that need to be done and changed. What she didn't say is that we need to withdraw from the ECHR. We need to rewrite the Human Rights Act. And unfortunately, if we don't do those things, we will not be able to get rid of these people. And I think that the number of people coming into the country illegally, and there were numerous videos circulating just after she made this announcement, from Calais and from other places in France, saying these people are still going to come over anyway, regardless of this. But what it looks like at the moment is that she's come up with some quite good ideas. They're not as radical as reforms. They're not as radical as even coming buddy knots on the Conservatives. And it seems to be this endless drive now who can have the most radical asylum policies. And what it's looking like, is that Shabana Mahmood has come up with a whole stream of measures that will help reduce immigration in the UK. But a majority of the Labour Party are against her. And most of the people on the left of politics are against her. And saying that she's gone too far to the right, that she has become the first extremist right wing in the Labour Party. And other nonsense like that. It's absolutely ridiculous, because you can't do wrong for doing right in this argument. So the government would also suspend the issuing of UK visas to citizens of Angola, Congo, Namibia, unless those countries improve their cooperation with the UK on immigration issues. So there's a whole load of countries that we have illegal immigrants arrive here from that aren't dangerous countries, or they are returnable to. And the countries are refusing to have these people back. They're saying, no, we're not going to take our own citizens back. And it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. No, you're not going to take your own citizens back. And so what we should be doing here is imposing sanctions or using tariffs, Donald Trump style. If Namibia refuses to take its own citizens back, or any other country, that we're trying to repatriate the citizens of, then we need to have some financial penalties and trading penalties with those countries, and force them into a corner. We are a far bigger economy, a far more powerful economy than most of these countries where these people are coming from. And we can use the impact and size of our economy and the influence of the United Kingdom abroad still to influence and impact the decisions of these countries. And we can even speak to our European neighbours who have the same problems, and maybe coordinate some kind of policy together. Not talking about European integration, so I'm not going down that road. But the power of Europe combined with the UK and the United States saying, no, this is not going to happen, this is what we're going to do, and we are going to fight back, and you will take your people back, otherwise we're going to sanction you somehow. I think that's probably the right way to go with it. It's outrageous that we can't send people back to the countries in which they came from in the first place if we ever find that out. And there's a whole load of other waffle on there, a whole load of other waffle. And then there was a whole load of left-wing BS, basically. Labour's asylum plans are racist. Shameful Shabana has betrayed her parents. And all kinds of other nonsense like this, that they've come out using the racist card yet again to try and say that we're attacking a group of people just for being their denominated race or whatever. It's just not true. It's not true. No, we are United Kingdom. We are England. We have to say no. We have to have the power and a chance to say no. We will not take people into our country that we do not want to have in our country. And these are our borders. Our borders. We need to control them. We need to have ultimate authority over them. We need to come out of the ECHR. We need to come out of or rewrite the Human Rights Act in the UK. Both of which have been promised by reform, and Rupert Lowe's come up with some great ideas about repatriation as well. I suggest you go and have a look at Rupert Lowe's document. It's a very in-detailed document about how we can basically remigrate hundreds of thousands of people. And I think that there's something to look into in this. We need to be doing a Donald Trump style ejections of people from the country. We need to secure our borders. We need to make it so we're not attractive to come here anymore. And we need to be stopping them in the channel. This is the ones that are coming across on the channel before they even get here, turning those boats around and going back again. But on the final part I'm going to talk about on this tonight is that we seem to be forgetting the other hundreds of thousands of migrants that are coming the legal routes. We're getting very distracted on the illegal immigration route, the people coming across on the boats, the people hiding in the back of lorries, the people overstaying their visas. But we have, in 2022, we had 900,000, nearly a million in other words, migrants coming into the country, most of which were legal, through official channels, through the proper ways, inverted commas. The year later it was 500,000. I think the figures for 2024 are somewhere in the region of 400-ish thousand and a bit. The predictions for this year are due to be between 200,000 and 300,000. This is just not sustainable. Since the year 2000, the UK population has grown by 9 million people, all of which are a direct result of immigration and immigrants having babies here. All of which that is responsible for. The native UK population is decreasing. The birth rate is not sustainable. So we've had a 9 million increase in our population in 25 years, just down to immigration and immigration policy. This has got to stop. Since the year 2000, we've had, I think, 4 million people come over. It's a lot. It's a lot of people. We need to stop the immigration as a whole. We cannot be having hundreds of thousands of people coming into the country. We cannot assimilate them. We cannot build the services for them. We don't have the houses, the benefit system, or anything else of that nature. And I think Shabana Mahmood is right to be looking at curtailing NHS treatment, housing rights, etc., etc. One word of caution on that, though, is that she did mention in her document about digital ID and about how digital ID will help weed out these migrants and illegal immigrants using the e-visa system, etc. Do not accept digital ID even for immigrants or illegal immigrants, because once it's allowed for one group of people, it comes for everybody else. Just as it's coming for company directors right now, it's coming for company owners next year, it's coming for car drivers, it's coming for everybody. So that's my final parting shot for today. Do not allow and be distracted by the immigration argument that digital ID is a good and okay thing to have for anybody. Thanks very much for being here again. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now.